Most people think good UX just means, make your website look nice. But here's the truth. You can have the prettiest WordPress site in the world, and if it's slow, confusing, or overwhelming, visitors are gone. The good news though is that fixing UX doesn't require a redesign of your site unless it's terribly bad, or, jumping in and meddling with code. Some of the biggest wins actually come from small, simple little tweaks. And in this video, I'm going to show you 5 different UX improvements that go a little deeper than the usual, just make your site mobile responsive. Like, we're going to be talking speed, we're going to be talking design psychology, and we're going to be talking about those tiny micro moments that usually get ignored, and some more things. So let's start with the one thing that affects every single visitor: speed. Here's the thing about site speed. It's not just about convenience. Slow loading times literally change how people feel about your brand. If your checkout page, spins for 3 seconds, people start wondering if your business is legit. Here's a stat, actually. A 1-second delay can cut conversions by 7%. But what's even scarier is how invisible the damage is. Most people don't tell you your site is slow. They just leave. So how do we fix this? Well, first things first, you gotta get caching enabled. You want to install WP Rocket. It's the caching service that I've been using for like 10 years now. It handles page caching, lazy loading, and database cleanup almost automatically. You then also want to install a content delivery network on your site. I use bunny.net. It's affordable, it's lightning fast, and it's especially good if you've got international visitors. And then, of course, you have to make sure that all of the images that you're putting on your site are fully optimized. You want to be running them through ShortPixel, so they're optimized and converted to WebP files. That's going to mean huge savings without, noticeable loss in quality of the images themselves, which is pretty nice. One thing that people almost never do is actually test regularly the speed of their sites. And you want to use tools like GTmetrix or PageSpeed Insights on an ongoing basis, just to make sure that your site is performing well. Don't just fix speed once. You want to revisit it, because new uploads or new plugins that you put on your site can slow down your website again. The second tip that I want to talk about is how design guides decisions, and it's not just about how your website looks. Here's where a lot of site owners get stuck. They treat design as just mere decoration of their website, but design is really about guidance. For example, I once saw a coaching site where every button was the same color. Their learn more buttons, their download guide buttons, their book a call buttons, they were all identical. And guess what that means? It means that no one clicked on the main call to action because it didn't stand out. And so the fix was actually simple. We gave the book a call button its own bold accent color, and conversions immediately jumped. And look, that's just a quick and small example of how design can be used as guidance and not just decoration. But there are other cues. You can use white space like Apple does on their website. Your eyes naturally go to the call to action when there's breathing room around it. Another thing that I usually talk about a lot is how you want to stick to 1 to 2 fonts per site, and 1 to 2 colors as well maximum, so nothing fights for attention. And you also want to be thinking about hierarchy. Your most important message should always be the loudest thing on the page. And so when you're thinking about design in terms of user experience, you don't want to be asking yourself, okay, how does my site look? Does it look nice? You want to be asking yourself, does my design show people what to do next? The third thing that I want to talk about is this idea of how micro moments lead to macro impact. Because yes, big changes matter. Menus, layouts, load times, but the tiny details often make the biggest impression. For example, think about your forms. If someone types their email in the wrong way and the error message that gets displayed on your site just says invalid input, it's kind of a cold message, isn't it? I mean, you can change it to something like, oops, looks like there's a typo in your email, and suddenly it feels more human. Or think about your buttons. Submit is just bland, but send me my guide feels a little more rewarding, doesn't it? Even blank states, like when a search turns up nothing, most sites just show, 0 results. Instead, you want to take advantage of like Thriving Builder's power to perhaps suggest related posts or offer a direct link to contact your support team or something like that. These little touches take like 30 seconds to implement, but they're what make people think, wow, this site just actually gets me. Like there are real humans behind this screen. And in the age of AI and automated chatbots, let me tell you, that actually means something. Fourth thing that I wanted to comment on is how interaction and engagement creates investment. And I was thinking about this in terms of how Instagram does it, right? Half the reason people stay hooked on Instagram isn't actually the content that they're looking at on screen. It's the polls, it's the DMs, it's the little interactions through comments. We value what we interact with. And on your site, this doesn't mean gimmicks. It means, giving people small ways to participate. And you could do this through quick polls, asking what they're struggling with. You could, use a simple quiz that guides them to the right product. Even a thoughtful comment section on your blog post that sparks discussion instead of just having a blog post with no discussion section, if that makes any sense. At the end of the day, what I'm trying to get to is that each of those moments makes your visitor a little more invested. They're no longer just scrolling on your site, they're actively participating. And once they've participated, they are much more likely to come back. And the last thing that I want to talk about is how clarity always beats cleverness, because here's a trap that I see all the time. Sites trying to look clever end up confusing people the most. And I remember, when I was working on the script for this video and the outline, I was thinking about how I once reviewed a homepage that had 3 different call to actions above the fold. They had a call to action that read, start your journey. They had one for book now. And then they had a third one for see more, which are all nice words, but it's all just totally unclear. Like, if I'm a visitor, what am I supposed to do first? Clarity means stripping it down and just using one main call to action per page, or at the very least per section. And you also want to try to apply this to menu items as well. Like, you want to use familiar menu labels like home, contact, services, about. These you're going to come across very often because they actually work. And you don't want to put ambiguous menu items on your header, because what does start your adventure even mean? Again, I gotta mention colors again. Use a color palette that directs attention to what people need to do next, and don't use so many colors that it actually distracts people from taking action. And I can think of probably a few more reasons, like pop-ups. Use pop-ups only where they make sense. Don't use them everywhere. I feel like I know I'm an Apple fanboy, but Apple is truly one of my favorite examples because their homepage is laser focused. They have one message and one call to action at least per section, which is why their site is very much conversion focused. Look, at the end of the day, what I'm trying to get to with this video is that UX isn't just about flashy animations or cramming in features on your site. It's about making your site feel effortless and feel like it actually flows with intent. So just remember that speed builds trust, design needs to guide decisions, and that micro moments make things human. And of course, interaction builds investment. Remember that clarity keeps people moving forward. This might all sound overwhelming, but just start small. Fix your speed, simplify one page, rewrite what your label on your buttons reads, and you'll feel like you're going to feel the difference almost immediately. And hey, if you want the tools to make these changes without touching a single line of code, that's what we built Thrive Suite for. But even if you don't use Thrive, remember, good UX isn't about making your site look nice, it's about making your site feel right. Anyways, if you found this helpful, hit the like button, make sure to subscribe, and feel free to drop your biggest UX challenge in the comments. I read every comment, I answer every comment, and I may even turn your question into a video. Anyways, appreciate your time, and I'll catch you soon.